Marvel Studios is really changing the game to when it comes to how they approach TV the same way they approach film. They are blurring that line so both look exactly the same and you don't feel like you're losing any value when you watch a TV series as opposed to a film that's in the same universe. Now, of course, this was not the way it's been handled when it came to the Netflix, ABC, and the other lot of Marvel Entertainment TV series. Now Variety has a new article that goes in depth into why this ultimately will hurt Marvel Studios and their quality. So in case you guys don't know, when it comes to Marvel Studios and how they are approaching TV series, aka WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and pretty much everything that they have in development for Marvel Studios on Disney+, it's completely different than previous Marvel Studios, or I should say Marvel Entertainment, Marvel TV offering. So for example, Marvel Studios has a head writer, they have a creator, they have a showrunner, they have a director, and essentially what they go back to is the interviews that the showrunners, writers, and people involved with the previous two series were saying. And that's that there's a disconnect between everybody. They sort of know what they're told to do, they know what they're supposed to do in their series and accomplish, but many times they're sort of lost as to what is happening in other corners. Sometimes a writer is doing something and the creator is doing something else, and then they go back to it and then they discuss how it's going to connect, and sometimes entire pieces are thrown out, sometimes entire things are kept, sometimes they rework the entire thing. And essentially what Variety is saying right now, that this can't work in the long run. It will never work for Marvel TV shows to handle them like films because they're completely different approaches. Now, I think you could argue this both ways, and honestly, I'm kind of in the middle on it. And I've expressed my feelings a little bit on this. For example, why would the showrunner of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, for example, let's say, why would that showrunner need to know everything that is happening with other writers, with the director? Again, the showrunner is doing a separate job from the director, right? So they don't really need to cross over in every single intersection. They don't need to go around the roundabout and always meet each other, right? Like, you don't need that. People can have their own jobs. And at the same time, why would people, for example, working on WandaVision, need to know what's happening with the likes of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or everything on Loki, or Moon Knight, right? It doesn't matter because they're supposed to tell their own stories in their corners of the universe, and Kevin Feige's making sure that everything connects. The reason we saw Marvel TV the way it was, take a lot of missteps, is because they had somebody like a showrunner, and then they had the guy that was up top. And they were all trying to answer to the same people, so things would get lost in translation, somebody would change their mind, things would not end up going the way they were supposed to, production problems, things were all over the place. Kevin Feige taking over all of Marvel, they're trying to get rid of that. And again, how many times do we have to hear the same thing repeated about, well, Marvel Studios is about to take a giant misstep, they're about to fall flat on their face if they don't fix this. They were saying this when Guardians was announced, and that was the riskiest thing ever that was about to kill them. They need to reverse course on this. Again, we realistically need to look at the way they've approached the MCU TV show so far, and they're 2 for 2 now. I have no doubt Loki is probably going to be a huge hit. What If? Probably another one. Miss Marvel Hawkeye? Probably again. Their pattern seems to indicate that they figured out their way of doing it. Just because they're not conforming to other people's ways doesn't mean that they're, bound for disaster. I mean, the CW goes through the same people for everything. Are you going to tell me that that's superior to the Marvel Studios offerings?